another technique you can use with colored pencils. If you want an area to blend better, especially if you have paper that has a high tooth like the paper I'm using here, it's a Arches cold pressed. So there's a little more like grit to the paper itself. So if you want to blend your colored pencil a little more easily, a trick you can do is to use mineral spirits. You just get a little bit of the mineral spirits on a paintbrush and you go over your colored pencils and it smooths it all together, almost like paint, which is a really cool technique to use if you're wanting that blended, seamless look. I'm using two different styles of pencil in this artwork. On the shirt, he has Inktense pencil, and with those, it's not a watercolor pencil, it's like a water-based ink pencil, so that you can just get water on a brush and blend that. But for the hair, I actually used regular colored pencil, and then I took the mineral spirits and I blended all of that colored pencil together. So there's a hack for if you have colored pencil and you're wanting it to blend a little bit more than if you were just going over it with different layers of colored pencil. Get out some mineral spirits and go ahead and try that and see what you think. you've watched any of my previous videos, you may have noticed that I don't normally do portraits of famous people. It's not that I don't like that sort of thing, it's just I've never really found a famous person that I was compelled to make a portrait of. However, I was recently asked by a family member if I would do an artwork for him of Brandon Leigh's character, Eric Draven, in the 1994 movie The Crow, and I said sure. Honestly, at the time I started this, I had never actually watched the movie The Crow. In 1994, I was 16, and it wasn't really anything I would have watched then, but I was pretty entertainment savvy, so I was aware of the movie and its story. So if you don't know, this movie is well known for more than just the storyline, where a couple are killed, and 1 year later the man is brought back to life by a crow to take revenge on his killers. The movie's star was Brandon Leigh, son of famous martial artist actor Bruce Lee, and it was to be basically his movie star debut. Sadly, it was and it wasn't, because 8 days before filming was to end, a scene went horribly wrong. A band of thugs raided Eric Draven's apartment. He and his fiancée were there, and ultimately, this isn't really giving anything away for the movie if you haven't seen it, but he and his fiancée were both killed. So one of the actors in that scene used a prop gun to shoot Eric Draven. The way the scene was set up, to be shot originally, the gun was hidden inside like a grocery bag and was loaded with blanks. However, what no one really knew, it was a strange series of like little accidents and oversights that led to this tragedy that was about to happen. A few weeks prior, the same gun had been used in a different scene, and the actor pulled the trigger and one of the loaded blanks kind of advanced, but when the prop person took the blanks out after the scene, he didn't check to see if there was anything else in the gun. He just took out the blanks, put the gun back into wherever it was stored, and then they pulled the gun back out for this later scene, and the blank was still there. So when the actor filming the scene with Brandon Leigh used this gun to shoot him, the blank in the chamber exploded. I guess blanks have actually more gunpowder than actual bullets, which seems very unsafe, but they wanted, to make it look accurate. So what happened is that one that was lodged in the chamber, a piece of it, shot Brandon Leigh in the stomach. He went down according to how the scene was supposed to play out. They had put like fake blood packets on him, so it would look like he was shot and then was laying on the ground bleeding. What nobody knew at the time during, when this whole scene was playing out, was that Brandon Leigh was actually laying on the ground bleeding out, but because they were shooting a scene, nobody noticed that this was happening until after the scene was cut, and they realized that Brandon Leigh hadn't gotten up yet. Someone noticed that there was way more blood than there should have been, and they called 911, and Brandon Leigh was rushed to the hospital, where they tried to give him blood transfusions, and I read that it was like enough blood for like 6 grown men. They tried to, do everything they could to save him, but he had lost so much blood that it didn't work, and Brandon Leigh passed away. What happened after that was that like I said, this was about 8 days before the end of filming this movie. So they were pretty close to being complete on the film, but they had just lost their star. Everybody was devastated, obviously, and horrified, and this was big news at the time, especially because Brandon Leigh was the son of Bruce Lee, who made basically martial arts in the movies a thing. He was the first one, and what happened was at age 32, so also a very young age, Brandon Leigh was 28 when he died, and his father was 32. The story for Bruce Lee was that right before Enter the Dragon was supposed to come out, he had an allergic reaction to some migraine headache medication. That's the official story. And I guess his brain swelled and he ended up passing away. He was never able to see the complete success of this movie that he had just completed. And then with his son Brandon, when this happened and he was shot on set, the movie, was incomplete. And after that happened, a lot of people were not wanting the movie to be put out. No studio would touch it. The star had been killed in the making of the movie, but finally Miramax picked it up. The fiance of Brandon Leigh Her name was Eliza Hutton, I believe. She went to the director of the movie and said, hey, listen, I know Brandon would have wanted this movie out there. You know, he was really passionate about this. So if you want to go ahead and complete the movie and put it out there, I'm behind you 100%. And so the director was like, yeah, we'll figure out a way to do this, to get this movie out there. And so they actually did. They tried to complete the last bits of the movie, like using actually really advanced digital technology for 1994, not for today, but it actually still holds up because I, in doing this painting, watched the movie for the first time and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a pretty good movie. I'm surprised I actually never have seen it before. But you know, they would use like some stand-ins for certain scenes and try to mask his face. Overall, you can't tell that the main star of the movie is missing for some certain scenes in the movie. They did a good job of trying to finish it to where that was pretty seamless. That's the story within the story of this movie, The Crow. If you haven't seen it, you can find it online. I would highly recommend, if you're into that sort of thing, that you watch it because it is a good movie and really showed that Brandon Leigh was on his way to becoming a great actor. And it's really, obviously, people have talked about this many times in the years since, but it's such a tragedy that he never got the chance to show what else he could do because his life was cut short. Also, I just found out in all of this that there is a new The Crow movie coming out. I heard it's supposed to be coming out in 2023. It's going to be starring Bill Skarsgård as basically the Crow character. I don't know if you know who that is as an actor, but he played the clown in the It remake. So I'd love to know your thoughts on that. Are you excited to watch that movie, or do you just think they should have left it alone and let it be the cult classic that it is? I know that's a hard call, but you know, it's one of those things where maybe when this movie comes out, it's going to be a great tribute to the original. I guess that'll just be one of those wait until the movie comes out and see how it goes things. So I don't know if this type of piece in these videos is interesting to you, talking about something like this. I found it interesting and fascinating. I figured I would give you a little background on, you know, why this movie has become the cult classic that it is. This is part of the reason there's such a lore behind it. And if you liked that, please let me know. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!